What if I told you that you have superpowers? How would you respond? Would you believe me? Would you be excited or skeptical or confused? Well, I'm an introvert, and today I'll tell you why all introverts are secretly powerful. I'm not referring to any special powers like X-ray vision or the ability to fly. Rather, I'm talking about powers that we all possess but don't realize because we're too busy doubting ourselves. This is a common problem for introverts. We tend to look inwards instead of outwards. And this habit of self-reflection leads us to both our strengths and weaknesses. It's the reason why we can come across as self-conscious and shy around others, but it also makes us more aware of our thoughts and feelings than extroverts. It gives us insight into how we work, what we want, and crucially, how to improve ourselves. But most importantly, it allows us to listen to the still small voice within that helps us figure out what we should do when the world seems loud and chaotic. Let me explain. The world today is loud. There are people everywhere telling us what to think, say, and do. There are thousands of things clamoring for our attention from the moment we wake up until we go to sleep. Television, social media, friends, family, co-workers, and society. It can all become overwhelming at times. That's where being an introvert comes in handy. When the world gets loud, we know how to tune it out. This is one of our greatest superpowers. Being able to concentrate for long periods is a superpower. Not everyone can focus on one task for an extended period without getting bored or distracted. For example, I recently read a book called Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. He tells the story of his transformation from an overweight, out-of-shape young man who couldn't run a mile without stopping to one of the most extreme endurance athletes in the world. In the book, he talks about his training regimens, which include running 100 miles per day, doing hundreds of push-ups and pull-ups, and carrying heavy loads on his back while marching for days. If someone told me to do any of those things, I'd laugh in their face and walk away. To me, they sound impossible, but David Goggins didn't think they were impossible. He pushed himself and trained his body and mind to make the impossible possible. And he attributes some of his success to his ability to focus. He writes, "If you really want to succeed at something, it takes a certain type of focus that only a few people have. It takes someone who can get completely absorbed in one thing and shut everything else out." This is an important lesson for all of us to learn. Sometimes when we fail, it's because we haven't focused enough on what we're trying to do. We've been distracted by the noise of the world, but if we can learn to ignore the noise and focus on what's important, we can achieve anything we set our minds to, and this is one of our great strengths as introverts. We're good at tuning out the world and focusing on what's important. This is why so many introverts make great writers, artists, and scientists. It's important to note that this doesn't mean we are antisocial or don't enjoy spending time with others. On the contrary, we usually love hanging out with close friends or family members who we feel comfortable with. It just means that we need time to recharge after spending time with other people. We need time to process everything that happened and reflect on what we learned from the experience. This is another one of our superpowers. We know how to learn from our experiences and use that knowledge to improve ourselves. Introverts are better at reflecting on their experiences than extroverts are. After an event, we take the time to think about what went well and what could have gone better. Then we use that information to improve ourselves next time around. Extroverts, on the other hand, are better at thinking on our feet. They can adapt to new situations quickly and make decisions fast. But they're not always good at reflecting on their experiences and learning from them. So when an introvert and an extrovert work together, they complement each other well. The introvert brings a thoughtful, reflective perspective to the table, while the extrovert brings energy and enthusiasm. And speaking of energy, let's talk about our next superpower. Introverts are excellent at conserving their energy. This is important because energy is a limited resource. We all start off with a certain amount of energy every day, and as we go through our day and interact with others, that energy level decreases. Introverts are good at recognizing this and taking steps to conserve their energy. For example, we might turn down invitations to events we don't really want to go to, or we might take breaks throughout the day to recharge. This might sound like a weakness, like we're lazy or unmotivated, but it's actually a strength. Being able to conserve our energy allows us to focus on what's important to us. It allows us to be at our best when it counts. We're not wasting our energy on things that aren't important to us. Instead, we're saving it for when it really counts. This is why introverts often excel at whatever they put their minds to. We're able to focus our energy on the task at hand and really pour everything into it. Our fourth superpower is creativity. Creativity is the ability to come up with new ideas and solutions to problems. It's the ability to see things in a different light and come up with unique perspectives. And introverts are often very creative. This is due to our tendency to reflect on our experiences and think deeply about them. When we take the time to really understand something, we're able to come up with creative solutions that would not have occurred to someone who did not put in the effort to understand the problem deeply. We're also creative because we're often lost in thought. We spend a lot of time daydreaming and thinking about all sorts of different possibilities. This isn't always a good thing, like when we get lost in our thoughts and miss what's going on around us. But it can also lead to some amazing insights and ideas. Daydreaming allows us to explore our thoughts and feelings and come up with new ways of looking at things. It allows us to be creative and imaginative. The last superpower I want to talk about is our intuition. We often have a gut feeling about things, a sense that something is right or wrong, good or bad, and usually our gut feeling is correct. We're not always conscious of this intuition, but it's there. It's a feeling we get in our gut, a voice we hear in our head. And introverts are often good at listening to that still small voice. This is one of our greatest strengths, but it can also be one of our greatest weaknesses. Sometimes we let our intuition guide us, even when it doesn't make sense. Sometimes we trust our gut feeling, even when it contradicts logic. And this can lead us into trouble. For example, I once trusted my intuition and it led me to make a huge mistake. At the time it felt right, but in the end I was wrong. The lesson here is that while intuition is a powerful tool, it shouldn't be our only guide. We should also use logic and reason when making decisions. When we do this, we become unstoppable. Introverts are powerful. It's time to stop doubting ourselves and start believing in our abilities. When the world gets loud, we know how to tune it out. We're good at reflecting on our experiences and using that knowledge to improve ourselves. We're excellent at conserving our energy. We often excel at whatever we put our minds to. We're also creative because we're often lost in thought. We spend a lot of time daydreaming and thinking about all sorts of different possibilities. And finally, we're intuitive. We often have a gut feeling about things, and usually our gut feeling is correct. As an introvert, I sometimes doubt my abilities. I often wonder if I'm making the right decisions or if I'm on the right path in life. But then I remind myself that I'm an introvert and I have superpowers. I'm strong and capable, and I can do anything I set my mind to. I just need to believe in myself. And that's the most important lesson I want to leave you with today. Believe in yourself. You're stronger than you think. You're more capable than you feel right now. And you have the power to change your life. Really appreciate you hanging out with us. If you liked what you saw, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.